Yeah, Priyanka, legal education has been, you know, liked, and the students are showing a lot of interest in legal education these days. And I see future is going to emerge from the maybe interdisciplinary areas. So maybe legal education will collaborate with medical science and with other maybe engineering to develop into a new domain. And at Sharda University, we have many schools. Like we have full-fledged School of Medical Sciences, we have a School of Engineering, we have a School of Architecture, School of Business Studies. So I think future will not be for standalone education. We have to collaborate, and things will emerge from the emerging point of the two disciplines or more than two disciplines.
Absolutely, things will emerge and change. Let's go over to Sanjeev once again. Sanjeev, what do you think the youth today can pursue if they are not looking to join corporates right now?
So, Priyanka, interestingly, youths today, a lot has been said. So I don't know how much can I add to that. But I have a few thoughts in terms of the fact that, the next 6 months, 3 months, there is so much of uncertainty. Even if youth have offers to go and work with an organization, you never know when those offers will mature or when can they join. And during this time, I think they should really brush up their skills on a few emerging areas such as data science, deep learning. Vishal talked about machine learning, artificial intelligence. So there are a lot of courses which are available online, which are free courses, by the way. There are sites like Udemy, there is Coursera, there is Udacity. And a lot of those courses are free of cost. And they should really try and get a grip on these technologies, because even if you want to be an entrepreneur today, and as we said, it's about information, communication, and technology, these are very, very critical technical skills to have. So even if you are an entrepreneur today, you need to take your product into the consumers over a consumer's phone or a laptop or some way of communicating. And we're seeing how, as Vishal said, in 3 days we had everything up and running. So I would recommend that even if, while obviously you pursue your entrepreneur goals, just ensure that you are very, very updated with the latest technologies which you can dovetail and use as part of your entrepreneurship offering. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Absolutely. Vishal, would you like to add that you pointed out that information technology has been, upgraded immediately the coronavirus pandemic happened. Education sector has evolved and will, continue to see more reshaping in the current times. What can you see in the terms of educators' bid to create more entrepreneurs right now, right ahead?
Look, of course, at the end of the day, the faculty, the kind of training that they're actually giving requires a lot of the faculty to actually be trained themselves. So we're seeing, especially in progressive universities that have come about, let's say in the last 10 years maybe, they focused a lot on the kind of faculty they've had. The kind of faculty, how they are going about their learning piece in the classrooms, beyond the classrooms, how do they incorporate the experiential learning piece, how do they ensure they bring in gaming, how do they ensure they bring in technology into how they teach in the classrooms and beyond the classrooms as well. Learning does not necessarily just happen in the classroom. Learning happens at any given moment in time when you are connected to university. How do we utilize that time? That requires a lot of faculty training. That requires faculty to be able to view learning as a dynamic piece. And I'm glad to say that a lot of progressive universities, higher education institutions have focused a great deal on who is actually teaching in the classrooms. It's very, very important. Those days of being a sage on the stage have actually gone. How can you be a guide on the side? It requires a lot of behavioral change. That's very important. And a number of universities are working on that piece. Many more universities need to be able to work on that piece. If you want to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem, if you want to create a belief in what faculties are, in students, it requires a certain kind of faculty to be able to, bring in that belief, bring in that decision making, break those silos. Let's say not look at mechanical engineering as just a mechanical engineering, course, but how do you try and integrate that with tech? How do you try and integrate that with, behavioral piece? How do you integrate that with psychology? That requires a very different mindset and a very different approach to higher education.
That's a very interesting point that you said, that we have to blur the lines between all the streams. If we talk about School of Law at Sharda University, Dr. Pradeep, how do you think the educators have evolved in the challenging times, and what more changes in the scenario are you hoping to create for the students and young entrepreneurs coming out of Sharda University?
Yeah, Priyanka, I see a lot of opportunities for this young graduates. And as we have seen, this COVID-19 disrupted the classrooms studies. And I'm sure the young generation, the way they have come on online classes within no time, virtually, they have been attending online classes. And this technology will be a great leveler. So even if faculty and some other things are to be addressed in due course, but young generation will cope and will use this crisis in furthering their employment opportunity.
Absolutely. If I could have the final word from Sarjeev Sethi, how do you think the future of the entrepreneurship in India post-lockdown, post-coronavirus pandemic, what will be your final word on this?
So my final word, Priyanka, would be that you have to watch and observe each every day as an entrepreneur, or most of the entrepreneurs whom I know, they are really watching the situation unfold week by week. Decisions are being recalibrated, hiring, because that's predominantly what we do. Every week we have review calls in terms of people who've been offered, whether they can join now or later, virtual joining, no joining. So, entrepreneurship would go through a dramatical change the way I see it. And you would have a lot of changes happening. There will be people who would work from home. The gig economy, which is where people would come for projects, would really pick up. And that's another venue open to young entrepreneurs. There is a lot of projects work open. There are sites like flexingit.com where they can go and register for projects while they are looking for either an entrepreneurship venture or perhaps getting into a full-time job. So that's my take on the situation, Priyanka. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show. Yes, these are challenging times. Yes, we are going to, face them with new, difficult and new circumstances, but they are going to come out with new things as well. It's time to wrap up today's masterclass. News and updates continue on India Ahead.